I'm going to totally edit you in there. Okay, so let me uncover this. Has anybody seen the movie Misery or read the book by Stephen King?
Yes.
So good, right?
So good. Wow.
It's wild. So the thing that is really interesting is that in the movie, she ends up trying to save him because she loves him, but unfortunately, she is trying to force him to do what she thinks is right for him. So it kind of ties into my lecture with where we're sold our own misery by kind of social media, entertainment, but there's an underlying reason for it all. And the kind of the subhead of the lecture is it's on radical feminism and toxic masculinity and how it's destroying the nuclear family and creating a culture of victimhood. So, next slide. Oh wait, I have this. Boom. Okay, so what is the overarching narrative that is subconsciously being sold to us through religion, social media, entertainment, and even higher education at this point?
Like right today, at this moment in time?
Yes. What do you think it is? Like, kind of what's the, on this topic, like, what we're told that we need to do to be successful, as women specifically?
Look outside ourselves. It's not within us. Wear makeup, stay in your lane.
Well, okay, so like, I mean,
Wait
not
to have
booty or
kids,
break.
prioritize your career first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be able to balance a working career and being a mom,
Yes.
doing it all.
Mom guilt about working or not working. Both
Exactly.
directions.
Yeah, and
And we need to fight for our equal rights because apparently we're not getting paid enough, we're not good enough.
yes,
Being constantly through that.
and you know, like the idea that we don't need men. We need, you know, like what's the saying? Women need men like a fish needs a bicycle.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, probably not. So, the evolution of feminism. It's kind of happened throughout history where we were, through different religions and aspects like that, we have had more of a balanced approach, and as time has gone on, we've seen it where we actually are starting to see a narrative that's being pushed, and there's like an agenda. So, what factors now played into feminism now? Not feminism like in the 1950s or 1960s. Like that was it was pretty simple. It was equal rights for women, which like who isn't gonna get behind that? Like, of course we want equal rights. We want to be able to vote, we want to be able to own our own property, we want to be seen as an individual. And how has it evolved into today? And what's seen as feminism today? You know, medical advancements has changed the evolution. Being able, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the tampon king. He was a man that in Saudi Arabia, he actually created the tampon. And it was because his wife was working and she would have her monthly cycle. And he would see the horrible decisions she had to make between providing for her family and unfortunately like having to deal with her cycle and how awful that was, especially where it's very humid and very hot. And so he eventually, even after much ridicule and a lot of, you know, trial and error, created the tampon because he wanted to help his wife. But a lot of times you don't hear that, but you know, it took a very like loving husband to try and help his wife.
Help her have a cycle? Or
No,
keep
help her
working
with the
through
tampon. No, help her, like he created the tampon.
Yeah, but help her to keep working through her cycle?
Yes, like help her so that she wasn't miserable.
Like so she could function.
Yeah, so she could function in society, not deal with, you know, like having to deal with, basically like rags and towels and, you know, like how messy it was. Because I mean, this was not, it's not recent, it was a while back. So, and then another issue is, you know, like how is this determined biology now? Like we have birth control, and birth control is readily available. So now it's made it so that we can possibly wait later in life to have children. We aren't dictated by having children right away if we get married. We can wait and we can actually have a career. But on the flip side of that, how has the hormones affected our bodies?
Oh boy.
You know,
Right?
exactly. And so like how has it affected our bodies, and we don't really know, and now they're starting to find out that it's when women ovulate, they're actually, when they're ovulating, we tend to find stronger jawlines more attractive. We like big shoulders, traditionally masculine men. When we're on our cycle, we tend to find more feminine men, very, like a little bit more sensitive and just a little bit more demure. We tend to find that, we find them more attractive. So when you're on birth control, you tend to go more towards the effeminate men. So it's actually, and you can see this in styles with men and their fashion, because the market drives, what people buy drives the market, and women are the primary people that buy. So what we want, we tend to drive the market. And so if you look at men's styles, it's tend to going to more of an effeminate style, which, like men used to wear dresses and robes and high heels and makeup, so it kind of goes back and forth. But it is an interesting thing to think about, like what is things that we just are like, oh, it's birth control, just take it. And how is it affecting our biology and affecting relationships with other people? And then, the workplace being open to both sexes, like finally we can have the workplace open to both sexes. But the interesting thing about the workplace and women in the workplace is it's very difficult for women based on our nervous system, because our nervous system is built that our biology is wired that we are adapted to mother and nurture. So a lot of times the bulk of infant care is up to the mother usually, just because we're the ones that are usually breastfeeding and taking care of the child. And that's just how our nervous system is wired. And that unfortunately doesn't translate into the workplace, because we tend to want to nurture and we tend to be more agreeable. And men are neurotypically, they are more disagreeable. They have no problem. They like, nope, that's not going to be okay, including with wages and things like that, like asking for what they're worth. Women, or if they're given their first offer, they're like, oh, okay, I'm cool with that. I'm going to take that. That sounds great. And then I'm like, nope.
To be clear, you're referring to if, just like every single one of us, if we let ourselves operate sheerly out of autopilot pattern without trying to actually consciously assert our free will, it's what's most likely to happen, right? Just based on pure biology and just general desires. And if I can bring up just one study that I think helps position this a little bit better. In Sweden, right, where they have just, global health care to everyone, global health care, welfare, you're either incredibly rich or you're pretty much rich because the government pays for you, essentially. There's no drive for you to only pick a job that produces a high level of income, right? Because at a certain point, you're just taking care of no matter what. So we see that there's more opportunity to just choose based on your pure desire instead of desire to earn a certain amount of money. Whereas here, it's like, oh, well, if I want to pay these bills, I need to have this type of job. In Sweden, it's just not the case. So people end up being able to choose what they actually desire instead of based on a monetary value. And what we see in countries like Sweden is that women actually do the exact statistic that she's talking about, which is they always choose caregiving, nurturing jobs, and they don't typically go into willingly STEM, math fields, and fields that require more arguing, conflict, things like that. That's not to say that women can't do it. I have a lot of very masculine traits.
Yes.
Okay, and which I bet is where you're going to go next.
Yes,
But
exactly.
if you look at biology and gender, but not gender identity, but biology and just gender, right? Genitalia and the hormones that typically coincide with whatever the genitalia is. There are statistical results in how people select choices, how they behave, and how they're, like she was saying, like what their actual neurofunctioning looks like. So this isn't ever to say that, women are basically go back and breastfeed. Say that's not a word. So
Yeah,
really not
definitely.
what women
Obviously
do.
that's not what I do.
Yes. So I'm just emphasizing that what we're talking about here is this is what gender, like in terms of gender science, this is what women are most likely to do and where their like heart and their true natural desire tends to lead them. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not consciously able to assert ourselves and intentionally take on more masculine dominated characteristics, because we can. And I think what you're going to see is that as we keep progressing into feminism, we actually become more masculine, which is like plot twist, but hey, back to you.
So, and this actually ends up to where women are exploited heavily in the workplace because they tend to be highly conscientious and highly agreeable. So unfortunately, they know that they can exploit that, and they'll be like, oh, you'll do what I need you to do, and you'll get paid whatever I want you to get paid. So one thing that women like need to start doing, and we have to like work hard to do, and it's hard. I mean, I know I did do it when I was working in the corporate world, and I had to learn to do it, is to be more disagreeable. And that doesn't mean defensive, it just means like, no, I have my boundaries, and I'm not okay with that. We tend to want to be like, oh, okay, I need to do that, okay, I'll do it. You know, and that's not everybody, but neurotypically that's, and so they're able to exploit that in the workplace. So there's ways that we can learn about that and possibly work around that. Yes.
So is there maybe then a correlation biologically with just maybe females having a harder time setting boundaries and
Yes.
not necessarily being more or less decisive, but just having boundaries and being more agreeable, as you say?
Yes, exactly. So it's not that like there's anything wrong with you if you have a hard time. Like I have a really hard time setting boundaries. I want to be like, I'm the person that can do everything because I want to be as completely indispensable as I possibly can, instead of just being like, no, I'm not going to do that. And my husband will be like, I don't want to do that. And then because of that, his bosses know where his boundaries are, and then he just is able to do what he needs to do instead of always being worried about it. And I mean, like, you know, this is just kind of a generality. It's not every single person. And then another thing that we're dealing with is there's like kind of a war on the sex. Like everybody's kind of against each other. So on the flip side, you see where there are a lot of men that are incels. I don't know if you've heard of that, but there are a lot of men that are starting to be like, women are awful because of, you know, the radical feminism.
Can you
it's like
tell them what incel means?
yeah, I'm about to. So like, so basically they're so mad about radical feminism, and they feel like they're so they're being put down so much that now they're completely, they won't have sex, they shun women, and they are basically trying to, they just become like solitary and they're only for men. So they're trying to go the other way. And it's very dangerous because a lot of these radical extremists tend to be incels. Yes.
So, incels, it means involuntary celibate. They're not choosing to be celibate. They believe that women have rejected them to a place where they are unable to have sex, and then they turn on women as a result of them not being able to get laid.
Yeah, that's good. So like that, yes, exactly.
Because it just seemed like you've described it as that they
Just did it and made the decision.
Yeah, this is like, they want to fuck.
Yeah, they for
They
sure
live in
want to fuck,
Because
but
women keep turning them down. So instead of it being a them issue, it becomes a women issue.
yeah. So instead of it being like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Is there something? Do I need to take a shower? Do I? Is there something? Am I off-putting? But they just are like, nope, it's your fault because you don't like me. So all of you are bad. Like the generalization that they make, like you're all bad. And so then it ends up being that a lot of these men, unfortunately, are very vulnerable to become radicals, like complete extremist radicals. And what did we gain and what have we lost over time, like as it's evolved? Does anybody, like, what do you think we've gained from the feminist movement?
We've adapted to a patriarchal system, which I think is a mistake.
You think that we've done that because of feminism?
Yeah, because of the evolution of feminism. Women didn't evolve to better society, they evolved to adapt to a patriarchal society.
So what is a patriarchy to you? Like, what do you say is a
So the
patriarchy?
system of the government run by men, decisions are made by men. Most corporations or like those jobs that aren't nurturing or caregiver jobs are typically run by men. So architectures, accountants, things like that are more STEM related.
Mm-hmm.
Women are like, I'm gonna go be in the army and fight wars and fly jets and all of these very masculine things,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh, well, we're feminists and we're evolving women's rights, but really, we're just adapting to a man's way of their
And
creation.
you're basically, what you're saying is that they're taking on the masculine way of doing things in an attempt to be equal, instead of to try to
Embrace.
elevate what they're naturally good at as inherently equal.
Correct. And
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think it's because I struggled with that for many years in the business world, showing up thinking I needed to have a penis at a meeting in order
Yeah.
to be like, I'm gonna bring it. And now realizing.
Just like flopping on the table.
It wasn't a weakness, it was a penis. So, but I think a lot of times that was like finding the fact that, and I think when I was actually some great time with Crystal Palermo, was like I realized and found my divine and realizing, no, actually what I bring to the table as a woman is what complements that room now. And yes, I have a lot of, we're very similar, I have a lot of male energy in general,
Yes.
but I'm also known as Mama Bear. So clearly, it's when you find that balance. But I think feminism, like what it's gotten us to, is the feeling like we can do without men, that
Yes.
we need to show up as men,
Yes.
instead of really coming as ourselves and seeing how the two of us together complement each other so beautifully. And what it has also done is force men to rethink, so am I not a man if I am not this and not that? Where men don't need to feel like they need to be one thing or another. Because on the reverse side, you have men that want to be nurses. They don't want to be the doctor. They want to be the nurse because
Exactly.
they like to have the
They
kid.
have
They
both
want to do
energies.
Those things, right?
Like we
So,
all have them.
I think it's both. Yes, I agree with you, Carrie, that yes, we felt like we needed to show up like men.
I'm just saying, that's what I think the evolution
Oh,
of feminism
absolutely.
definition is today.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
And
and
really making it bad. Like, it's, we don't need dudes. Like, yeah, we do.
yeah.
I love
I know. So, and like, what have we? Oh no, what were you gonna say? Were you gonna say something? Did you have your hand?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. So, and
Can I
what
add
have
to
we?
Gary's point?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I work in tech. I'm routinely one of like the only women out of hundreds of people. And when we have women in this company meetings or groups, the focus is always on how can I show up and look like a dude? How can I fit into this culture? How can I make this culture not suck for me? Rather than how can we change this culture, or how can we make it different or make it accommodate me. It's like literally like, don't wear a skirt and lipstick to your job because then we'll know you're female. Like don't let your bra strap show because we'll know you wear one.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's consistently in my experience then how do I show up like to fit more into a man's world, then how can we make this both?
So that both are embraced and
Yeah.
worked. And like, is there a way that we can find specific things that we really like in
Yeah.
these fields, you know? Or is it something that, like, it make it not so much about you're a man and you're a woman,
Right.
and embrace what you are? Like, because every woman and every man has masculine and feminine energy. We're all very different. And having both energies actually is much more balanced, woman and man, than having just purely feminine and purely masculine traits. So as we look over time, we have, you know, some really beautiful, strong goddesses. Like we have Pele. And so we, unfortunately, when we look at religious and cultural and spiritual beliefs, we see that there's an agenda that has been pushed. And the changes to religious texts and perversion and inversion, unfortunately, of a lot of things. When we go back to before, you know, culture is tainted and changed, and it was changed incrementally, because that's what they tend to do. They do it just a little bit at a time, just so they can kind of see how far they can push it. And also, if it's not too different all of like quickly, then you're like, oh, that's not too bad. I can handle that. And also based upon political things, like even back when there still were kings, but when kings were actually like ruling in monarchies, they had their own political agenda. Say like when they would print a new translation of the Bible, so they would translate it and have them translated specifically the way they wanted to push their ideals that they wanted. One really good example of this is the Hebrew word Ezer is in the Bible. But when it was translated, unfortunately, it's like, you know, the one way everybody knows, oh, women are helpmeets. That's actually not what it means. What it means is Ezer, when you take it and break it down, it actually means mirror image. And it's describing Eve to Adam. and so she's his mirror image. And then Kenedo means warrior, spiritual warrior, co-warrior. When it's used 1 other times in the Bible, it is used to describe God coming to help. And so when you see them together, it's your mirror image and it's a spiritual warrior. So, like, what would that's completely different than helpmeet. I mean, it means that you're supposed to show up and you're supposed to be the yin to the yang, you know, the balancing force, and you're supposed to be their co-warrior. You're supposed to help them, you're strong. And it's completely different than this idea of a helpmeet, which is demeaning and that you're basically a broodmare. Which, like, no thank you. I'll just be popping out babies, no thanks. So that's kind of something that unfortunately was lost over time. And it's something that's very beautiful.
Can you repeat the word again?
Yeah, Ezer, so it's E-Z-E-R.
E-Z-E-R.
Kenegdo. So it's Kenegdo. Yeah.
Great job, though, spelling that word.
Yeah. I've written it a couple times. When I found that, I was like, whoa, that's pretty amazing because it actually always rubbed me wrong, helped me. Because I grew up in the Mormon faith, and women in my church, my branch, tended to be seen as broodmares. Like, you stay home, you're naked, not naked, well, sometimes. But you're barefoot and pregnant, and you just raise the babies, and that's what you do. And I was like, that sounds awful. Like, that's the only purpose for you, and your children are important, but the mom's kind of like just a means to the end of getting children. And so it just terrified me. In fact, I went through a good, my mom still remembers when I was about 8 when I realized, oh, I had to give birth, and I researched how to become a boy. I was like, I don't want to get babies. That sounds awful. And so I literally went for 2 weeks and I cried all the time. And then, I don't know, I just was my mom, talking to my mom and grandmas, and I finally got over it. But I mean, it kind of pervaded even as an adult for quite a while. So it's pretty sad what religion can do if it's used incorrectly. It can really traumatize a child. So when we look at Goddess Pele, she was the Pacific Islander faith culture. Sorry. Oops. Oh, just kidding. New computer. But okay, so women are very multifaceted. Pele was a destroyer, but she's also a creator. And women are, we embody chaos, which is, you can only have creation through chaos. And so it's a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be just a negative connotation. Pele was strong. She was a creator of the islands of Hawaii. And she's a volcano. That's pretty badass.
She's also the destroyer. She's very similar to a Kali in Hinduism.
Yes, exactly. And that's it. She's a volcano. So she can destroy, but she also is growing the island and making the island bigger. So, there's these two dichotomies. You don't have to just have one. And if you look at, Goddess Isis in Egyptian culture, women are seen as equals. There were women pharaohs, and they were able to own land. They were priestesses. They were revered, and in some ways they were more than just the men were. You know what I mean? Because they could create and bring life. Yes. She knows what I'm talking about. And so, and the funny thing is, if you look at Pacific Islander culture and the way of life, there was a gender-based division of labor and space. But it balanced and it worked really well. And it kept the harmony of the community going. And it helped it was just an intrinsic sense of balance. So Hawaiians classified places and objects into paired opposites. So they worked in tandem. It wasn't just oh, this was this and this is something else. The inland waters were female. The outward waters, more like the sea, were seen as male, masculine. Sky and earth, land and sea, day and night. Which we have that even in yoga, moon, sun, it's more the masculine, warm, moon, cold. Sorry guys. Okay, so as I was saying, we have the Goddess Isis, and then all the way on the left we have the Virgin Mary. And the Eastern Orthodox faith, which is mine, so it's easy for me to kind of like reference it. She's called the Theotokos, the God bringer, the God bearer, and she's seen as one of the most important people besides God. When you walk into an Orthodox church, you will see her front and center, and she's everywhere in the whole church. And women in general are seen as creators, and all the women are revered, and the men protect, and they want to make sure, because they can't do something that we can do. We can bring life, they can't. But they help us to bring life. But we still hold creation in our womb. And that's how we tend to see God as well. So God is not just masculine. You know, God is feminine and masculine, just like we all embody feminine and masculine in us. Because God created, you know, source, created. But he also had order. So you can see that that has changed. Now in a lot of faiths, they tend to look at God as just a man. And it's unfortunate because it can make it where females don't have a place in religion, or they feel like they don't have a place, so they feel misplaced and they have to try and go somewhere else. Does anybody have any questions or like anything to add about spirituality or how they've seen it in their life with the feminine and the masculine? No. It's fine. Go to the next slide. Sorry. Oh, thanks. I'm getting dry and forgot to grab my water. So what's healthy and toxic masculinity and femininity? Because they're healthy and toxic for both sides. Thank you. What is the healthy balance, and do we carry both feminine and masculine energy in all of us? Because do you guys think that we carry both in us intrinsically?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
And is it bad to have a more masculine or a more feminine energy in you,
Sure.
man or woman?
By design.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a matter of your stars aligned at conception. You don't just come in with your makeup and you gotta play your deck.
Yeah, exactly. And you can work to your strengths. And then you find somebody that works with your weaknesses that maybe can prop you up in those weaknesses and has that strength, and you have strengths maybe where they have weaknesses. And it can work very symbiotically and very beautifully. So I have a handout, and it has kind of like a keyword bank of healthy, you know, just traits, personality traits, and then negative, like toxic personality traits. And I want you to kind of go through and see which ones you think that you might have. Because what we're going to do afterwards is basically I'm going to go through a list of what's masculine and feminine, and you can kind of see where you line up if you'll have masculine and feminine energy. It's kind of weird picking out personality traits.
What does singular mean?
They worry about the individual.
You say individual.
Yeah, just kind of we're worried about the singular person.
And yours, is that like straightforward?
Linear, yeah, it's more kind of like a logical linear, like you think from point A to B, and you don't take into a lot of extra information.
You follow the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight
You just follow the rules, you have very linear thinking. It was actually really interesting going through this and kind of like figuring out what my personality traits were and just realizing that there were masculine and feminine energy that we all carry. And I was like, whoa, so you're saying that I can have both? That's crazy. And it's not bad to have either one. I think that was the thing that kind of blew my mind. It was like, so it's not, I'm not a woman if I have masculine traits, but also like it's okay to have feminine traits and embrace my femininity. So it's kind of an eye-opener.
I've always been aware of my masculine traits, and I've always liked it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, same.
Yeah, I don't like the whole submissive. Intuitively in my relationships, I won't play that role. I require equalness
Yeah.
with my partners, without knowing any of this stuff.
Yeah, well, and you know, it can be very good, and sometimes it can go really far, where you can over project. You can be too submissive, and they walk all over you, and you can be so aggressive that they don't ever get a word in edgewise. So it's always a balance of constantly trying to make sure, you know, like just intuitively try to make sure that you aren't projecting too much on somebody, but also standing up for yourself.
What is compulsive? Is that like having to do something?
Compulsive means like you just like you compulsively, you can't hold it. It's just you do it without thinking, like absolutely no thinking.
Okay. No, that's impulsive. Compulsive is you have to do it.
Okay.
Impulsive is you do it without thinking. Compulsive is you think about it, but like
You must do it.
That's a compulsion to do it. You have to.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, like OCD has compulsiveness naturally.
I know. I was like, oh wait, that makes sense. Yes, compulsive.
Can I add impulsive if I am?
Yeah, you can add impulsive. It was actually on one of my lists. Like there's so many personality traits that you can kind of look at that it can be a little overwhelming.
Right.
I think one thing to add to
Yes.
the comment, I can't remember your name, she's right in front of you.
Bianca.
Is it's also nice to find a partner where you can drop into your feminine, and I don't mean that that way, but someone that shows up in a way that you can express your feminine, and you feel safe, and it feels right, and it feels like you being more into your feminine as a woman is actually like contributing more to that, like.
And being able to relax into it. Yeah.
And like seeing that, if I can see that.
That
in you more.
perfectly describes what I'm currently experiencing, because I've always been like so in my masculine because I just don't have never trust anybody, especially dudes. That I've never been able to actually relax, trust that I won't be abandoned, be vulnerable, be softer, and I get to do that in my relationship now when I've never done it before because it never felt safe.
Right.
Now it actually feels safe, and it still takes work because you're going against everyone of your natural brain impulses that are like, that's not safe, don't do that.
Well, and it can be it's not oppression. It can be a freedom to have somebody that is, you know, able to take that for you, where you can be like, no, I want this to be free, and I can allow my feminine to kind of come out. And it's like it's kind of fun to relearn yourself too. Also, kind of not fun sometimes.
It's also interesting for people around you because sometimes, and I think this is worse than I've communicated with people that are close to you, it's difficult sometimes to see. Like maybe you think that that person is like, well, that's not respectful of busy. No, actually, that is respectful. What you're witnessing is this is a mentor, this is someone you followed, but you've also followed her in this constant state of masculine. So now she's able to drop into the feminine. All of a sudden you think she's being devalued. No, she's in a safe enough place to feel like I'm going to receive some correction and coaching in a different way that people aren't used to. So it could show up like some people be like, whoa, like people that meet me first, they're like, oh, she must wear the pants, and then they meet my husband, they're like, oh, how the fuck does that work?
Yeah.
So how does this exist?
Wait a second.
But it's because he provides a safe place for
for me to drop into my feminine. I'm incredibly feminine around him. So it's that, but you know. So
It's like it
yeah.
shifts, and that's the thing that's so beautiful is it can shift. It can be you can be more masculine 1 second for when for when you need to.
Right.
It can be very beautiful.
Does that mean that we shift into the other side as being the protection?
What do you mean?
Like, would I shift into my masculine side to protect myself? Or
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. And that's kind of why you're seeing a lot. What's happening that I've seen anyways is that it seems like women are trying so hard to protect themselves, and it's creating a cycle because then men are stepping back
so you don't need to be that.
because they're like, oh, I don't need to protect, I don't need to do this, so I'm gonna step back. And then, unfortunately, then women need to do it more. And so it's just escalating the situation. And the thing is the men, usually, generally, are just trying to do what they want. Like, they're trying to support the women. Like, they're not doing it from a place of, being lazy. They want to do what they feel is right. Because it's innate in men to want to protect women. So they want to do what's going to make women happy. And so it's creating this cycle that, and this is how I've seen it. I could be wrong, but it's just what I've seen. And I have 3 boys, and I've been, and I have a husband. He's kind of crazy, but I love him to pieces. But it makes me scared for my boys sometimes. Yes.
The flip side of that natural desire in men to be the protector, as women start to take, and I've seen this in my relationship, as women are naturally able to care for themselves more and kind of more dominating and really holding on to some of these masculine traits, it disrupts the sexual polarity in the relationship because the guy feels like he's basically has no purpose anymore. So there has to be some readjustment, and even if it's just in the intimate relationship setting, then you go back to being you in the workplace or whatever comes natural. To maintain that polarity, it's like men, there's a natural desire for them to feel needed in that way, and if you keep making it seem like
you don't need
them, it just shifts the dynamic to a place that usually will impact your sex life more than anything else.
Yes. And what we're unfortunately seeing is that there is a epidemic of male suicides, especially middle-aged men. And depression rates also in women are the highest historically that they've ever been. So women aren't happy and men aren't happy. Like, we think we're happy because we're being told that we should be happy. But if you look at most, what are icons of a celebrity, a female celebrity that's like an icon of, the radical feminism? Like what?
You just asked for an icon of radical feminism?
Yeah, like an icon
Who's
of,
that?
huh?
What?
Like an icon of for females. Like, what's a celebrity that's basically people hold up as like she is the epitome of a feminist. She's doing what we should all be doing, and we need to follow her example.
Amy Wambach. Sophia Bush. Huh?
Yeah.
Right? I follow them just so that I can get mad about it. Make yourself there.
So what are they bringing to the table? Like what are their home lives look like? What are their personal interrelationships between whoever they're with, or even friends? What are their relationships like with their children? What are their children's mental health look like? Are they happy? Are they content?
They seem pissed.
Yeah, they seem very bitter because they have to take so much on by themselves all the time, and it's a lot of work.
One component of this I find, and I've talked about the other women, I'm like, yeah, we fought for all this equality, but I feel like as women, so we fought for all that, but men, we do more at home. I had a client who's a professor, so they did the research. Men only account for like 15%. So now of what goes on at the household.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're working our asses off and have to come home and slave too. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like they don't do their part at home. That's not equal. I mean, in my experience, in the research, apparently my client, they did this whole study about it, ran the numbers. And we not only now are working these long hours and doing that, we come home and do everything, and they like plop down, and do nothing. Sorry, if I'm.
I think that's
in general.
That's, so in my experience, that's not true. Like when my husband works 100 hours a week, and when he comes home, well, he actually works from home some days, but as soon as he's done being home, done
So you
work-
don't think in general women still do more in the home?
Oh, I think women do generally
Yeah.
do more things in the home. But I also believe that doesn't invalidate what men do at work, and what they're doing. And when my husband comes home, he's doing the cat box, he's taking out the garbage, he's mowing the lawn, he's taking care of the kids, so that I can maybe get like 5 seconds peace. Like, you know what I mean? So it just depends upon the relationship. But I think one doesn't always equal the other. If women are doing more work at home, that doesn't mean that men are just coming home and plopping on their butt,
We
That's
also,
been my
in the
experience.
country right now, statistically have more stay-at-home dads than ever before. I think the number's approaching 40%. So that's shifting, and I think some of that has to do with, again, like if we go back to our natural inclination, behaviorally speaking, if women are naturally already less likely to believe that a guy can follow through on these things, then they don't speak up for it. They might find themselves in a situation where they don't ask and put up boundaries for the husband to follow through on the things that they want them to do at home. So instead, they just kind of silently stew about it, which is in my election this afternoon. I'm with my hold it all together, even though I won't necessarily ask somebody to do these things, because in my head I've already decided, well, you're not gonna fucking do it anyway, so I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
I might be
Guilty
in the
of that.
process of doing it while being like, motherfucker,
Yeah.
you can't even help me with this. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm doing all this stuff and I worked all day, and then I'm like, whoa. let's pop down for a second. Because some of this has to do with our belief that they won't do it if we ask them, so then we don't ask them, but we're also doing it all ourselves. Probably also, if they even try to help, we probably do something that makes them feel like they're already doing it wrong, so they're like, fuck me, I'm just not even gonna try.
Yes.
Versus whatever families have actually managed to like bridge this gap, where now all of a sudden the guys are the stay-at-home dads. There's been some sort of communication gap that they've been able to fill, where they've been able to be like, okay, well, I really like my masculine qualities and I really like to go to work, and you seem to be happy at home with the kids, so fuck this whole gender roles thing, like let's just flip it.
Yep.
That is happening more and more, so it's possible, but I think it's, for certain people it feels harder than others because of probably more like chakra imbalance stuff.
And one thing
That's very cultural.
Yeah.
I have
Yes.
to say, I'm around a ton of Native American men in my area, and that is not the case.
Yeah.
Like, they don't come home and the woman does everything. As a matter of fact, when a woman's cycling, they don't do anything. Women aren't allowed to do anything for their families. Men
Yes.
take care of
That's
them.
amazing.
But honestly, that goes back to the biblical times in the
Yes.
Red Tent, where women didn't do anything for the men because it was unclean. I mean, it's a different reason.
Yeah.
But they also felt like that was their sacred time, and women were coming together to do those things. So I think that what's unfortunate is those men that are choosing to stay home. I know my husband did for my son, and he felt a weird conflict of like, am I the man? Because my wife is the one that's providing him this and that. So he constantly had to fight that feeling of masculinity. And that's all communication. And I 100% agree with Busy. Most of the time, as women, I will tell you, we set men up to fail all the damn time.
Yeah.
Because if you come in the house and you don't bother to ask someone to do something, or you have a tone and you're like, hey, I'm really tired today, would you be willing to help with dinner? Or would you be, it's like, I'm really tired today, it sucks that I'm gonna have to do dinner again. Oh, I guess you want dinner. I mean,
Passive
we
aggressively.
just- Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it's actually swinging. I think more men are actively part of the home, and I think it's great to see them going back to cultural roots of, it was a family affair. Did men go out and hunt? Yeah, but the women were out doing shit too all the time.
Exactly.
And we came in together and slept with our kids in the same area. I mean, it's just.
It was
really
very
going back.
harmonious. Like
Yes.
it was, and that's the thing. That's the point. Is so a lot of this is ripping the family apart. And like right now, like my husband, well, he's been with the kids all weekend. He's like, you go do your thing. I am stoked for you. He even wanted me to send him my lecture slides, and he's watching the kids. Like he's taking care of the home right now. 3 boys, he's got it, and he's working his job. And it's football season. He's a football analyst, so he's busy. But he made sure it happened because he knew it was important to me. So I mean, it all depends upon your relationship. But I think that we are not giving men enough credit. I really do, and I think it's detrimental to them, and it's detrimental to us because then we take on a lot. It's stressful.
Can I piggyback onto that thought?
Yeah.
We're not giving them enough credit, and or alternatively not helping them bridge this gap that we're talking about.
Yep.
right? One or the other, because they're either trying to do it inherently on their own, which, great, bravo, or if they're not, instead of us being pissed about it, we're not doing our job to walk them across the bridge.
Yeah.
Right? Like two options.
Like my husband's like, I can't do the laundry because I don't know how. So I'm like, well, I'm going to teach you.
Let's make it fun.
Let's make it fun. But I also don't like.
Take off my
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just kidding. But no. But so and also not doing it from a place of like, "Ugh, you did it wrong again. You know.
I think it's also birthing a lot of miscommunication because it's eating into like even our culture. Like this woman wrote a book about how like her husband was trying to do something nice and he bought her flowers, and then she was like, "What's this? That's not the type of flowers you make jam with. Why did you bring me that? Like if you want a jam, bring me the right flowers." And he's just trying to be romantic and bring flowers, and she's like,
Yes.
so it's like creating this.
It's like a social priming. Like we're primed to find these things wrong, and so we'll find them, even when they aren't. And then, you know, and I mean, like, there's a stereotype for a reason. There are some, like, you know, tyrannical men. So it's not 100% one way or the other.
And that's a perfect example of your like a source belief where
Yes.
that's your brain, even though the guy's trying to break through your source belief,
That's
you
not
it's
true.
unique, you're like,
That
but it's
can be
not the exact right color
Yeah.
or exact right brand. And it's just your brain pushing back because it doesn't feel safe to accept that as evidence.
I don't want to let go and see you romantic.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your thoughts on like ownership of the household stuff? Like sometimes I see men helping more, but it's helping, like babysitting rather than like.
I think that, so.
What are your?
Honestly, I just think it's words. Like I think that people are trying to get offended about something. Like and like, you know, yeah, it's annoying when somebody's like, "Oh, your husband's babysitting." I'm like, he's not babysitting me. He's watching his children. But also, I'm like, yeah, he's watching them. Like, you know.
Do you think it's shifting more towards both taking an equal role in the house, or do you think it's
I
shifting
do, and I
towards
mean,
help
there's
with
some.
the-
There, I think there is some. It's been a nice evolution where men are stepping up and like taking on more roles in the house, you know, and they're not worried about being seen as not a man. But they also aren't allowed to be a man as well. Like a lot of times they're being demonized for being a man. You know what I mean? Like they're praised for, oh, I can be this feminine man, but if I have any masculine traits, they're not allowed to have them. But yeah, I think it's definitely moving.
Would you say to begin to, bridge the gap, like what would like starting that look like, just coming home and asking for what you need sort of thing? Yeah.
Well, because I mean, what do guys do? They can ask for what they need.
Yeah.
And it's a part of being agreeable and disagreeable. And it has nothing to do, like it sounds like, oh, I'm disagreeable and I'm angry. No, it's just that you will be like, I need this to be done. I need you to do it. And also giving them parameters, like, can you please do this? And be happy for what they do. Don't nitpick it. Like, because that's what I used to do. I'd be like, well, I asked you to do this and you made a mess while you did it and it didn't really help me. And so he's like, well then fuck it, why am I even trying?
Yes.
So like be appreciative.
And then they're like, well, I can't do anything, right? So fuck it, I'm not gonna do anything.
And I used to do this with birthday gifts. Like he would give me a gift and it was like a rechargeable battery. Like a portable battery. And I was like, really? A rechargeable battery? But it's because I always had my phone dying. So he was like trying to take care of me.
Good intentions.
Yeah, and so then he stopped getting me birthday gifts and then when I like changed my mind and I was like, oh, thank you for the toaster. I'll kill you. But I'm the only one that eats toast in my family, and I was like, damn, I want a toaster that in our toaster kept like.
You like toast.
Yeah, and it's like he's like, I'm trying to get you a toaster, and he got me a red one that was my
Practical.
favorite
Girl,
color.
I had that. My boyfriend got me a toaster oven, but I reacted that way too at that
Yeah,
time.
and
Like, really?
Like I wanted to, but I was like, break, Ashley, use it. And I was like, thank you, you got it in my favorite color too. And like, I am literally the only one that uses the freaking toast. And you got it with all the fancy settings.
Nice.
And so, and
G'd up toast.
yeah, and so exactly, and because I did that, the next time he was like excited to try and figure out what I wanted for my next birthday. I was like, sweet. So you can just, kind of, gotcha. Yeah, it's, instead of being negative in feedback, you can be positive. And we do the same thing with children. You know, if you're disciplinary instead of teaching and being loving, there's some like, okay, whatever, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, why would I?
Well, and if they have to do the task right for you, then they're just helping you with your task and you haven't shared ownership of it anyway, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
It's
It's
like, do
almost
my
like
stuff
delegating.
the way I would do it, and and then I'll come to your work and do your stuff, like, for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're managing, and that emasculates them too.
I think it's really funny that when I was studying sex therapy and relationships, they're kind of teaching us the ABCs and like, you need to tell the women to, for example, step down at some points and be like, can you please open that jar for me? Or
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
giving them back the stuff that they used to do so that they don't feel like
They feel you need it.
Yeah, and it's like, even if you can do it, you're doing that for him, so he doesn't feel like he's useless.
And honestly, it feels kind of good. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't want to try and open this fucking jar. I know I got one of those little jar openers, but I don't want to do it. Can you please open this for me? I even do it with my teenager, my 17-year-old, my son, and he's like, yes, I'm strong. I can help my mom, and he'll like open the jar, you know. So it's silly, but it's important. Just like I feel important when my husband's like, oh my god, I don't know how to do like the kids' lunch. Like, do I put this in it? Do I put this in it? And I feel needed by being able to be like, this is where his yogurts are. This is where his carrots are. You make sure you use this bag. You know, it's silly, but it makes me feel really needed, and it makes me feel like I'm a good mom. And it's important.
And I think looking at things more as a partnership, the more you look at it as a partnership and how you apply. When we do premarital counseling, one of the things that we look at is, what do you enjoy doing? You know, people need to have those conversations. You know,
Yes.
this is, what do you enjoy doing? What do you enjoy doing? Maybe I love shoveling snow. I actually do. I love shoveling.
I do too.
So,
It's really
I mean,
weird.
it's the best workout. It's awesome.
I get all my
So,
best thoughts.
Yeah. Well, but Chad is like, he's a little bit more of a perfectionist about, he's a little bit of OCD, so I'm like, well, if you want it to look like that, it's probably going to need to be you to do it. And being able to have those conversations, coming home and be like, I need you to do this, like, then yes, you're just deflecting your responsibility. If you come at things as a partnership, and you're like, what do you like to do? What do you like to do? Well, none of us like to clean the bathrooms, we're gonna have to negotiate.
Yeah, exactly.
And but when you look and you find the things that they really like, then it's no longer this thing of like, well, that's you know what I mean? You're just, and it's the same way that you do with your kids too. You find chores, and Carrie was someone that like, because one of our things we're like, everyone had trouble with chores. Letting the kids choose their chores, you know, and every kid will choose vacuuming for about 6 months. It's the first one.
They love it. That was so cute.
Soak it up and milk it as long as you want.
Because then it goes also really, it's just like vacuums.
They just love it for some
I like
reason.
the power.
My biggest thing is that
Power
it
tool.
needs to be a
Yes,
conversation.
it's like
That's what we're
electric.
asking. It needs to be a conversation that you guys find something that you enjoy doing, stuff that he enjoys doing, the things that they pay attention to. That's my husband's thing. Like, if he pays attention to something that I'm like, I don't give a fuck, then he's like, I'm like, then you need to do it, because I don't care.
He cooks, I clean, because I like the house fucking clean and he doesn't
Right.
notice. And if I cooked, like, we'd be eating TV dinners every day and he doesn't want that. So I'm
Right.
like, well,
Right.
you cook things.
Yeah, it's a balance, and it's like that's how you get that beautiful symbiotic function, not dysfunction. So, and I mean, like a lot of times people think, oh well, and women tend to think, well, if men are quiet and they are weak, then they aren't dangerous. Actually, the funny thing is that it tends to track that if men are more meek's actually, I don't know what I want to say, more quiet and they are weak-willed, that they have no virtue. Like they tend to have, they don't really have any moral compass, or they just kind of don't care. They're like, I'll let this happen and this happen. They don't really care, you know. And you'll see that with relationships. They'll be like, oh, let's not put labels on it. You know, if you want to sleep with who you want to sleep with, but I'm going to sleep with this person, and it tends to end up with like hurt feelings. And I mean, this isn't everybody, but it's just what I've like experienced in my life. And when I had men that were more stronger, more virtuous, and by virtue I mean just morals, like whatever morals they are, but having them and sticking with them, having boundaries, they tend to be very strong, and then I feel more protected and safe. So I am able to step into whatever I need to, and I can feel like I can express and be vulnerable with them. Because otherwise you can't be vulnerable, and you have to have a shell up all the time, and you can't communicate, and you can't have a healthy relationship. And, you know, cowards usually are very dangerous, and we don't want that. Like, I mean, I want my son to be brave and do things even when they're scared. Scared is not the same as being cowardly. You can be scared and still do something and work through it, men and women. There's an example that I really loved of this guy. His dog has cancer, and he went to the vet, and I mean, he's destroyed. He loves his dog, and he was going because they had a little bit of a scare. They were doing chemo treatments, and while they were there was a young girl. She was 16, and she was destroyed because her dog was there and was having seizures. And so he was like, "What do? I just want to, like, I don't want her to be crying." But at the same time, like, they're stuck in this kind of position where they want to protect. They don't want to see women crying. It's an innate. I mean, would you say that's an innate? Like, you want to protect women? Like, you feel like you need to protect and help?
You're asking me specifically because I'm a man.
Yes, of course.
I like to protect women and children and men, as
Yes.
well as plants and animals. So protection, yes, is
Like,
general.
is it just like an innate sense that you feel like you need to protect and you're strong and you can help?
Yeah,
Whoever it
anyone
is.
here in danger right now? Just checking, all the time.
But I mean, like,
But I too feel the need to protect all the time, but not just because a woman's crying, like, do I need to protect her, but, and
Yeah.
I don't feel to give hugs because a woman's crying.
Mhm.
I actually feel to let that woman process her emotions, and in that way, I'm holding space for her, and that is a protection mechanism. So I think the definition around protect is a little cloudy there.
well, and I mean, like, honestly, it's biological too. So it can be both. Like, it's not that one's wrong or one's
Well,
right.
biological is like something gets hurt and it's dying and I want to hold it. That's yes, like I will nurture it because I put that in.
Well, so you want to nurture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so my thing is, and what I'm trying to say is that when it's a lot of men, they want to try and fix it.
Yeah.
It's innate to want, and that's a masculine trait too. You want to fix it. What do I need to do so I can fix it right now? And sometimes they have to learn that they can't fix it, but it's not bad to want to fix it. There's nothing wrong with that. So how do you marry wanting to fix it, but also wanting to be supportive? So you can do both, and neither one are wrong. And he held this space where he didn't cry. He wanted to cry with her, but he's like, no, I'm gonna keep it together, because if I keep it together, maybe say a few jokes that might make her laugh, and just kind of forget about it for just a second, just to alleviate that pain for just a second. And then he went home, and his wife needed to know about the dog, and so he didn't break down or like let anything go. He wanted to make sure she felt safe and like let her know what was going on. And then once he did that, he felt like he was able to be like, okay, and then he broke down and he cried, and he was like, and he let her know how he was feeling. He was able to be vulnerable with her. So it's a very beautiful thing where he wanted to protect, make sure she was okay. Then he was able to step into his side where he was able to release and be vulnerable and let go. And that's not a bad thing, to want to protect and want to make sure his spouse was taken care of. So what are children missing when we demonize the feminine? Like, what are boys and young girls missing when we take out and the father's gone? Like, we don't need you. I can do it without you. And I mean, like, honestly, women, they can. If they need to. I was a single mom until I was 27. And I had my son when I was 16. So, I mean, I was a single mom. It was hard. But I can do it, and I was able to do it. And I, graduated, I went to college. I did things I needed to do. But it was hard on my son. So, and then raising my two boys while being married, it's completely different. It's sometimes in some ways harder, because then I have to like check with somebody about if I want to do something. Check, this is how I want to do the kids, whatever. And sometimes it's like, no, I don't want him to be in that sport, I want him to be this sport. Damn, I just want to do what I want to do. So, but what do we see that is, like, do you see anything wrong or missing that children are missing when they don't have mom and dad, or, two parents basically, or having that masculine influence? Especially boys. But even women, even girls. Like, I didn't have my father. I had a stepdad who was different.
So
Yeah.
I just know for myself, being raised just by my mom as a single parent, like
I took on a lot of masculine qualities of like, I need to be independent and protect myself and like appear strong at all times and like not show emotions that I'm having and things like that.
Yeah. But like, do you see that seep into your relationships and like how it's structured your life and what you needed to do?
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. Like a lot of the things you're saying about like not giving your partner the opportunity to stand in his masculinity. Where for a majority of the beginning of our relationship, I did everything I could to like assert that I was an independent ass woman and like I didn't need him, but he was just kind of there. And then like slowly I've learned to give him some things, and it's been hard because I haven't need to be completely safe too. So
do I. And I'm speaking from experience. Like when I started Break, I was like, I'm an independent ass woman. I need to fucking clean this house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing laundry.
She literally said this.
I literally said, I was like, I don't need to do the laundry. That's ridiculous. And then Busy was like, but okay, like, what's his love language? Like, what is the contention? And then when I started thinking, like, okay, what makes him really happy? Is it because he's just like trying to oppress me and be like, bitch, you need to do the laundry. Like, why don't you do the laundry? Or is it because of how he, like, his childhood? His mom was an alcoholic, and she basically kind of abandoned him, and the stepmom came in, and she didn't really know how to show affection. She was very reserved, but she made sure the house was clean. She made sure their clothes were washed, and like they were stable, like the house was stable. So to him, that's love. So when, like, literally as I was getting ready to come here, I was like putting the kids' clothes in their little cubbies, and it made me feel like I'm needed, even though I'm not there, I'm there. And he like walked by and like pinched my butt, he's like, I love you like that.
Because and this was on a lecture from probably like a year and a half ago, where she really had to shift what cleaning and organizing meant in her head. Instead of it being a signal of being an oppressed woman that has to do all these household duties, it was showing her husband love, and it was specifically around shifting kind of your sexual polarity and relationship.
Yeah, because my husband was completely unaffectionate, and I was like, do you not love me? Am I not sexy to you? I'm disgusting to you? And now I'm like, get the fuck off me.
Right, the more you clean, the more he's like, God,
I'm like, so I'm not cleaning today because I can't take it anymore.
I was just gonna say I can sincerely relate to that because I was a single mom for the first 5 years or something, which it's hard like you said, but how did you shift that for yourself? Because I go in and out of that all the time. I know that I need to look at it from a new perspective, but I always find myself coming back to that independent badass bitch. You ain't gonna hold me down.
Oh, it's still it's not like it's gone.
Right.
Like it's not like it's gone, but I work on it. I just actively work on it, and also I talked to my husband. I was like, honey, listen, when things are going really good, that's when I'm gonna try and fuck up. So if you see me like trying to like steer it left, maybe you can be like, hey honey, I know you're doing this because you're trying to start a fight, but you're just doing that because you, like, I let him know so he can help me, and it makes a really good relationship. And like, are we perfect? No. Like sometimes I'm like, bitch, what are you trying to tell me? I'm doing my own thing. So I mean, it's work. You have to constantly work. Just like you have to work with rituals, like constantly. You're always reevaluating. When things are feeling good, you kind of let it slip, and then you go right back there. So I mean, like, I'm always working on it. But honestly, I have tools too. Like, I will just put music, because I hate cleaning when I am told to clean. So I just like put on music, I'm dancing, and it's funny, but now when I clean the house, like, I feel so much better. Like, it has nothing to even do with my husband now. Now I feel like the house, like, I feel a lot less stress. Because like my room is clean, I feel pride in my home, but also like when there's a lot of clutter, it messes with your, like, you just can't really calm down.
Cluttered house is a cluttered mind.
Exactly. Just, pick your damn room. My room is always a mess. It was like a theme to my childhood. My room was always like, my mom would be like, okay, we're gonna make a trail. Ash's room's disgusting. So, I mean, it was always my way to rebel because I had a very strict childhood. So I'd be like, I'm not cleaning my room, it's a mess. My drawers are a mess, everything's a mess. So, yeah, suck it. But, yeah, I mean, like, sometimes you just have to.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
When I was married, my marriage therapist said that one of the reasons that I keep the house dirty is to fuck you, my husband.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe that's right. Maybe he's
I didn't think it was because I was really trying hard. I just think it's a person. And so we've been divorced 5 years. I live by myself, still messy.
But do you think it's like possibly a pattern? Like, you know, like it's a way for you to tell yourself, well, I'm just a messy person and this is just how I am.
Well, sometimes I keep it clean, just not consistently when I go home.
Well, and I mean, like, part of it's just like, and one of the things I had to just tell myself, I was just like, actually, you just gotta be an adult and fucking clean your house. Like, my mom's not gonna clean it, so I gotta clean it. And it doesn't feel good to have a dirty home. So, like, there's one aspect where it was a fuck you to my husband, but there's also one aspect where I just had to, like, adult. Like, I just had to grow up and, like, fucking clean the house. I was like, dang it, I have to clean. But, I mean, you just have to shift your way of thinking, too. And my husband cleans, too. Like, when I guarantee when I go back home, he's gonna be like, I cleaned the house, it's so beautiful. I'm like, hell yes, and the laundry's done. I know it's gonna be awesome. So, you know, I mean, there's no right or wrong way, but sometimes it's just as simple as you just have to do it. You just have to clean, pick up, you know, when it comes to stuff like that. Just like my husband, he takes out the garbage. That's gross. And I feel like we just have our little things, you know. Okay, so these are some of the messaging that we see a lot, and it breaks my heart because my 17-year-old sees these things, you know. Like, these are actual things that were taken off of accounts.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and this is very prevalent. It makes me sad. Like, you know, do you think men twitch so much in their sleep because their bodies can't handle not saying something stupid for that long, so it finds another way to be annoying? Tell me that that's not the way a lot of people think that it's funny to say things like that. I mean, they do. And could you imagine if it had been flipped and there was a guy that said that about a woman? And how we'd be like, excuse me, I don't think so. But this is funny. And it's sad, because like my 17-year-old's like, Mom, am I stupid? Like, no.
There are also
funny.
people that are actually getting media time, basically just saying that all men should just be killed because they're worthless.
Yeah, actually.
That's allowed too, apparently now.
Actually, I have a friend, she was just, because I was kind of like practicing my lecture last night. She lives here in Scottsdale. And she was telling me that her boyfriend is in veterinary medicine. He's going to school for it. And he's literally the only male in the class. And he has the women tell him all the time, like, if he doesn't answer every question, they'll be like, that's because you're dumb, you didn't know it, did you?
What the fuck?
Yeah. They even will be like, when they're talking about animals, because it's veterinary medicine, they'll be like, oh, well, they'll be talking about like something like, the black widow eats the male after the, procreation. And they're like, yeah, women should, like, humans should do that too. Like, we don't need men. It got so bad he had to go to the dean because he was so consistently harassed. So, I mean, like, it is definitely happening to men. And it's like, it's not good for it to happen to women. It's not good for it to happen to men. It's not good for anybody to get any kind of harassment like that. But for some reason, it's okay because it's funny. Like this woman tweeting that, if you're a white woman and currently pregnant with a white baby boy, just all favor and go down to Planned Parenthood and kill your baby. Yeah, that's on Twitter, and that shit is regular.
But here's what's real crazy. That is allowed on Twitter, but the amount of things that will get your account deleted or get you shadow banned on Twitter that are significantly better than that. I've personally been shadow banned. I've watched, and we were talking about this earlier, there's a prominent modern feminist who got banned from Twitter because she's pissed off that transgender women are now basically taking over all the sport fields. They're like, why do we fight so hard for feminism if transgender women are now able to come win all of our sports? She got deleted from Twitter for asking an actual question.
Yes, and we're gonna see this, in the Olympic Games, because the Olympic Games this next cycle
Is allowing
transgender males to compete.
Also, we still have the Olympics, like.
Well, I like watching ice skating.
Athleticism.
I like watching ice skating.
Athleticism is one thing, but it's also idolizing and spectator sport and money, and it's driven on another capitalistic level that I don't really agree with.
See, I like figure skating. I like it.
I get it. I like it too. Like, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But there are there's no agenda of like, let's get shit done. Let's get into space. Let's get better rocket ships built. No, let's keep having Olympics every 4 years. Let's keep electing a dumbass president every 4 years. Let's keep paying taxes every year. Like, everything is just cyclical, no progress.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
they're
just like
they're distraction mechanisms.
They're all
It's like
yeah.
all entertainment to keep
Exactly.
you focused away from the things that should actually.
Well, and like they used to do this, you know, in like when you look back at a lot of like what is it? Like the Roman Colosseum, like if there's any kind of unrest or anything, they'd be like, let's just put on a show and have somebody
Yeah,
die.
it's all for distraction and
Yeah.
for rich people.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's definitely very valid.
Privilege.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's just, it's all a distraction and it's all something they're trying to push something. But I mean, we're gonna see this like in the Olympics when it comes up. There's gonna be unfortunately a lot of women who busted their ass that are gonna not even place because there was a track meet in on the East Coast. I can't remember which school, and this is actually happening quite a bit. The top two, the first place and second place for a track meet was two transgender males, and so the girls that worked so hard, they didn't even get played. Like they got third, fourth, and fifth, and they were mad about it. One of them was okay with it, but the other girls were like, I busted my ass and I just like nothing. So I
They
mean,
should really have their own competitive category.
yeah.
Because you're still biologically
Because
different.
now you're excluding them and you're putting
If anything, we're
them
including them in their own special Olympics.
Yeah.
But
So I
I'm
mean,
saying
it's
that's
like,
the society that we're in. Don't offend anybody.
yeah, exactly. And so and that's where you see it coming in and tying in. We're just trying so hard not to offend anybody that we're actually becoming offensive in some ways, you know, or we're like really actually recreating things that were, you know, in the 1940s, 1950s, 1920s. Like we're crazily enough going back in time. And it's sad. And like we have, you know, there are hardships for men and women in the workplace. Like I was explaining about, you know, for women and like our sympathetic like our nervous system. It's created that we tend to be very agreeable and highly conscientious. So we want to do the best job, and we will do it, and we will become a doormat sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes because we're like trying to make sure that we can make money for our family, and we're trying to do what we need to do, and we also care. We care about people. We care about, you know, a lot of times what work we're in. We really care about it, and we're passionate. But
That's
there's
where you can tap into that divine feminine and you can bring both, man.
exactly.
You can be amazing.
Exactly. If you can embrace both, it's beautiful. And then, but a lot of times we tend to ignore the hardships of men. Like, oh, okay, well, most work-related deaths are men. And I'm sorry, but I don't want 50-50 plumbers. You can be plumbers. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool with the majority being men plumbers, because that's disgusting. But I mean, there's probably some chicks that like that. Like, you know, like pair of pipes. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not that so we're always trying to make it equal. But what if it's something that does not interest women, like carpentry? There's some women carpenters, of course, but the majority of them are men. Same with like roofers, construction workers, and they also take more dangerous. Like they tend to be a lot more dangerous jobs because they are physically able to do it. I mean, honestly, with biology, they have greater lung capacity, denser muscle mass, longer bones, denser bones. So they are physically capable of doing things that are going to be a lot more work for us.
And just surely based on hormones are like much less risk averse.
Yes.
In general.
Yeah, that's why when you see those stupid like memes where the dude's like on a ladder on top of another ladder, it's like usually girls are like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. That sounds like a bad idea. Let's not die. Let's not do that.
Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, it sounds like really a lot of fun. So balancing the sacred feminine and the divine masculine to be able to heal our communities and save our children. I mean, that's what's so important, right? It's like our babies and other people's babies, like all the babies. And by babies, I mean even my 17-year-old is my baby. So I mean, you know, making sure that we have that we're nurturing both and not demonizing either side, because there can be no good that comes out of that I can see. Making one better than the other. And you know, like, so this is a saint for the Eastern Orthodox faith. And you know, like, this was, I thought, a really beautiful saying that it has, because they are so interconnected. Isn't right? They're so interconnected. You know, they should help each other and care about each other, but they aren't the same. There's nothing wrong with being different than your partner, or than your brother, or whatever, you know, whoever is the male in your life or the female in your life. But there's nothing wrong with being different. You can still have an equal opportunity to do what you want to do. Just sometimes it's not going to be like a equality of outcome. And that's not a bad thing. Because maybe, like, I don't want to be a football analyst. That sounds awful. That sounds like nothing I want to do, because it's just an Excel spreadsheet all day long watching a football game. That sounds horrible. I'd rather, you know, like, paint. I paint icons. I'm artistic. I like to paint. I like to do the crafty things. I make candles. That's what I like to do. I also like to teach yoga. It's fun. But you know, like, where do you see in your community where there is a severe lack of men? And one of them you might see is like in the Black community. Unfortunately, it seems like there's a lot, and it's prevalent in quite a few different, but in the inner cities, you're seeing that there's a lot of absentee fathers, and the boys don't even know how to be men. You know, they weren't seeing that, and the mothers working so hard, working 2-3 jobs, that they are left by themselves, and they have to try and figure it out, and then they become kind of like, you know, these little deviants that are running around, boys, and like, and I'm talking about all inner city kids, not just the Black youth. But if you look at statistics, it's disheartening and it's sad, you know, that our children are having both masculine and feminine. And if you look, so there's a difference between immature masculinity, and I think that's what most people mean when they say toxic masculinity, because that's the thing. Definitely, there's toxic masculinity, there's toxic femininity. When you look at, like, archetypes, there's an immature and then there's a mature, and they tend to, you have to go through the immature and to make it into the mature. So there's the tyrannical king, and then there's the benevolent king. There's the devouring mother, but then there's the benevolent goddess. And they tend to, it looks a lot like the Eli triangle. So you have both sides and then you have the middle. So you balance it out and go up. You know, possessive, distant, those are two opposite sides. And then it goes up to the mother. So you have to balance the two. And then, and you know, like, because everybody's different. Like, maybe I'm not so much a lover, you know, frigid or seductive. I'm more like, you know, the mama. Or you see the dichotomies with the king. He can be a tyrant, or he can be a weakling, or he can balance both the chaos and the order, and he can go up and be, you know, the benevolent king. You see with the warrior, they can definitely be a masochist or a sadist. Or they can, you know, balance their masculine energy and become a warrior that's strong and protective. So it's, I mean, I love these different kinds of archetypes, because you can really see how society has made it so men are either, and women too, but men specifically are either the sensitive, artistic type that's a little bit more effeminate, or they are a masculine bro dude who, like, only does these things. He's kind of a jerk. Well, if you look at, you know, like Abraham Lincoln, he was very strong. He's very, very intelligent, but he also wrote poetry, played music. Like, a lot of these men, you know, they could do all the things. They balanced all the things. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. It's a narrative that we're being told that you have to either be a jerk or you're the artistic, sensitive guy. You can be both. You can be both. You can be both a jerk and super sensitive, but you're just pretending you aren't, super artistic and like the free-flowing guy that has no boundaries. Or you can also be the other side of it, where you're very protective and nurturing, embracing your feminine energy, and also you are taking care of your family and, or, you know, your dogs, whatever, taking care of your community. You see that a lot. There are a lot of really good male role models that are coming out, and they take care of their communities. It's beautiful, and they're women, they come out and they're taking care of their communities. And that's what I feel like will, as we go forward, will help heal. Because that's what we need to heal. There's so much division in so many different ways. Like if we could just come together and heal our hatred for each other, or for what we perceive as different. I love this meme. Well, it's kind of more like, it's kind of a meme. I love this. A man should understand he doesn't protect his woman because she's weak. He protects her because she is important to him. Like, that gives me chills every time I read it. Because it's so important. Like, he's not doing it because she's weak. And, like, he has to realize that, but also we have to realize, feminine, like the women, we have to realize that he's not protecting us because he thinks I'm weak. Because that's something I used to do. I used to put my idea on what he was doing. Like, he's doing that because he thinks I can't do it. When really he's doing it because he wants to show me he loves me. There's like this one's cute. Like today at work, she went through the drive-through, and the man at the window wanted to pay for the person. The person wanted to pay for the car behind him. And I've done that before. It's kind of fun where you're like, I'm gonna pay for the people ahead of me or pay for the people behind me, whatever. And until I think she's hot and it's his wife. And that's cute. Like, it doesn't have to be that that's demeaning, like he's sexualizing me. No, it's cute. I want my husband to tell me I'm hot. Just like I want to be like, hey, honey, you're sexy. Like, that's not a bad thing. It's fun. And it's healthy. Our children see how we interact with our partner. And my kids, every single time they see us kiss, they're like, ew, gross, but my 17-year-old sometimes is. He's like, ew, gross, mom. But my kids are like, ew, kiss again. Do it again. I want to see you snuggle. It's cute. Come on, mom, dad. Like, you guys are weird. But it makes them feel very stable and safe because they feel like, okay, mom and dad love each other. Our home is safe. There's not something going on that I don't know about. They like to see affection, just like they love to get affection. It goes across all different boundaries. And one thing that I've seen, and it's actually an interesting case in serial killers. I know it seems kind of random, but a lot of the men that are serial killers, their moms tend to be a devouring mother archetype. So they would tell them that they were nothing, they were worthless. And so when you have somebody telling you you're worthless all the time, you're nothing, and they were also the mother that was alone. Like, they were usually single mothers, they were working hard, they were also completely stressed out, it breeds this environment. Does it happen all the time? No. It's kind of like, are all Ford cars? Yes. But are all cars Fords? No. But it helps breed this kind of environment for it to be right, for it to happen. And I mean, I'm a mama bear to my core. So I just want to protect babies, and I want our communities to be happy. And I feel like it's so close, but yet so far. And we could turn the corner. And I feel like there are a lot of people that are starting to wake up because things are shifting so far to one side. People are like, whoa. Did you just say that your baby, since it's a male, needs to be killed? Like, that's a little bit too much. And it's helping people wake up, but it's like a sad way to make people wake up to it. And I think that we can totally embrace our feminine and actually use that because we need to. The world needs our feminine energy. And, for both, but definitely women, we don't need to always be the ones that are have to do everything. We can let the guys do some of the work. I mean, it's a relief. And seeing that dichotomy, being a single parent and being married, it's a lot different. I mean, it's got its hardship sometimes. But going through break, I realized a lot of them were mine. A lot of my issues. And me working on mine made him work on his without him even knowing it. It was awesome. So we can challenge the narrative, and like some of this is probably, it might be a little bit jarring, but let me never fall into the vulgar mistake of dreaming that I'm persecuted whenever I'm contradicted. This is a huge one with radical feminism. If you are against them, or if you think differently, then you are against them and you hate them and you are a bad person. You can think differently without hating somebody. I mean, even my husband and I disagree on stuff. My friends, like I have a friend where us talking things through, we were like, oh, we came to a compromise and we actually like really like it. And talking to her helped me realize some things that maybe I was completely, I had no idea about because I hadn't experienced it. So I think, talking is important. Also being open to researching and looking into things. It's not a bad thing. And then this. Oh, and in the handout, I'm gonna go through real quick the masculine and feminine, so you can kind of like put an M or an F and like tally it up. It's kind of fun to see if you have more masculine or feminine energy. But on the second page, it's page 2 and 3, is actually a really beautiful poem by Danica. Because we were talking about this, and she was like, I've got the poem that I wrote, and it embodies this conversation. And it's beautiful. It's about embracing the both, and about how the earth is the womb, and it's the mother, and it's the nurturer, and the creator. And all women have the creator in us. We are nurturing. We are nature. I mean, nature selects, and the women select, not the men. If you look at it, there are a lot more men that will never have sex. That's why you get an insult sometimes. But women, it's very rare for women that have never had a partner. So women are the ones that have the power, and they select. So we need to do it. We need to do it carefully. Select men that you can trust, and you can be vulnerable with, and can protect you. There's nothing wrong with that. And men need to do better. They need to be the men that they need to be, so that we can feel protected and we can be vulnerable, and they can be vulnerable, and we have to do that for them too. It's not one side or the other that's wrong or right. I really love the poem. It gave me too. She also wrapped it for me when she read it. That's why.
Is this the one that she did it in Break Line?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think so. Or no, there was another one that's very similar.
Oh.
That was the Meet Cute one. This one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, this one's a different one. She's like, I've got one for you. And I was like, I'm printing it out, using it for my lecture. So yeah.